Hello friends and potential friends. Well, with the hurricane past, they're promising us some cooler weather for the next week or two. So I think it's time to make a batch of bone broth. I've been gathering up these chicken bones for a lot of the last year, and it's time to do something with them. So I'm going to be loading them up in this cooker, filling it up with water, and then I'm going to let it cook for a day or two or three or whatever it takes. And then we do some canning. So let me get into this. Well, okay, looks like I'm going to be doing 2 batches because that's only half the bones. Now fill this up with water and let her cook. Well, that's going to fill up a lot of jars. Now set the heat, put the lid on, and let it cook. Okay, this stuff's been cooking for about 3 days now. I'm going to turn that off. Get rid of this lid. And I'm going to start straining this out. Right at the moment, I just want the broth. That's going to go into jars for bone broth. And later, these bones are going to go into the oven to cook for a while. Perhaps a few more days, I don't know. Because I'm hoping that I can soften them up enough to grind them up and use them in the garden as bone meal. Hate the thought of just throwing them away and then buying bone meal, so I'll see if I can make my own. I do have 7 quart jars in the oven heating up. They're already good and clean, but I just need to get them up to the right temperature so that when I put this hot broth in there, they don't all explode on me. But it's going to go on for a little bit. And I need to bring a tray over here to put some bones on. And then we'll see how much more I can get out of here. Ouch! That stuff's hot. I've been waiting to do this until the weather cooperated a little bit better. It's been pretty warm here, and I hate heating up the kitchen any more than necessary. But a cold front moved through today about noon. We did get up around 80 this morning. But now the temperatures are slowly dropping, and the winds have shifted around, so they're coming out of the north. And by tomorrow morning, we're supposed to have a low of about 50 degrees Fahrenheit. which is nice because these bones will probably be in the oven for the next couple of days. That's my excuse to run the oven to keep the house warm. Accomplish a couple things at the same time. But I'm going to continue with this. And get ready to put that broth into jars. So I'll bring you back when something exciting happens. Okay, I've got my broth, keeping it nice and warm. Got my pressure canner coming up to temperature. Got some lids back here in a pan to get them a little bit warm. I'm going to be straining the broth again as I put it into the jars. And let's see, I've got my little bowl of vinegar with a paper towel, my rings. Looks like everything I need. So let's go ahead and get started. First we get a jar out of the oven, if we can. Okay, I'm going to have to do this the hard way. Okay, grab a jar. Let back to stay warm. Ouch. Okay, jars are hot. Hot liquid into a hot jar. And I'll leave about an inch of head space. Take a towel with vinegar, go all around the edge real good. Make sure there's no chips, no cracks, nothing stuck to the lip. Grab one of my lids and a ring. Finger tight. And then we put it into the canner. And rinse and repeat. So let me go ahead and fill these up. My pressure canner will hold 7 quarts. So that's how many jars I need. Okay, 7 jars in the canner. I've got the burner set to high to bring that up to speed. And as soon as it gets hot enough, I'll put the lid on it. And then we'll vent it for a while. And then we'll pressure can them. May have a little too much water in there, but I did put it up to the line, so should be okay. I know a lot of people put different kinds of vegetables in their bone broth when they're making them, and then they discard all the vegetables and bones and everything. And first couple of times I made bone broth, I did the same thing. But then I found that putting the vegetables in it sometimes affects some of the different things that I make with the broth. So ever since then, I just do straight bone broth, no additions. And that way when I want to add spices to something, I just go ahead and add spices to them when I'm cooking it. And I've still got probably another 6 or 7 quarts of broth over there, which I guess I'm going to find something to put it in and freeze it, because I don't plan on staying up all night pressure canning. But anyway, it's starting to boil a little bit. Won't be long and I'll get some steam coming out of it. And once I get that going, we vent it for 10 minutes, then put the jiggler on it, bring it up to pressure. Once we get it up to pressure, because these are quart jars and it's a meat product, they have to process for 90 minutes. And that's going to be about the end of my evening, I suspect. So I'll bring you back when we get ready to do something else. And I'm just going to, I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on it. If I can see it from here. This kitchen is not the best arrangement for filming. But there we go, the lid's on it. It'll start venting pretty soon. And like I said, then I'll vent it for 10 minutes and then we'll take it from there. Okay, it's hot and venting. And I'm going to set timer for 10 minutes. And incidentally, I've also put the bones in the oven. Got it set at about 200 degrees. Basically, I just want to dry them out. So, they'll be in there probably for the next day or so. The little pressure gauge popped up. It's starting to build up some pressure. And we'll let that vent, and then we'll just come back for the next step. Okay, there we have 10 minutes of venting. Steam's coming out of there pretty good. And now it's time to put the jiggler on. Like so. And we'll let the pressure build up. Once we get up to 10 pounds of pressure for my area and altitude, I'll start playing with the knobs on the stove and we'll process it for 90 minutes. Okay, there we are at 10 pounds. So I'm going to go ahead and start the timer. And now I just need to make sure that it doesn't drop below 10 pounds. But unless you're the type that likes to watch paint dry, you probably don't find this real interesting. So I'll go ahead and pause it until something else happens. And that's 90 minutes. Turn the power off. Carefully move the pressure canner off of the heat. And now I'll just let it sit there and cool off and depressurize by itself. And in a couple of hours, it should be ready to open up. Okay, it's been a couple hours. Pressure indicator is down. Pressure is at 0. Safe to take the jiggler off. Now we'll move this out where I can work with it. About there. And make sure I turn it away from me. And now let's take a look at what we've got. 1 quart of bone broth. Looks good. And let me go ahead and get the rest of these out of here. and I'll show you the final product. And there we have 7 quarts of bone broth. Let those sit overnight, check all the seals, and then they're ready to go in the pantry. So now it's on to those bones I got in the oven. Well, I'll see you next time.